Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Benjamin, and as always, I'm joined by that handsome gentleman on the other side of the screen, Mr. Chip Chirimbus, currently residing in Hollywood, Florida, formerly of Las Vegas, Nevada, and born and raised in the great state of Connecticut. Chipper, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing just great now. Plenty of sunshine, beautiful water, and I'm looking at
You're
the ocean
killing me.
right now. Hey,
You're killing me. You're
how is
killing
it
me.
in Rochester or
Yeah,
Schenectady or
man, oh
northern
man.
New York,
The low is
Buffalo?
going to be 18 tonight. So, oh, thank you. Anyway, I'm glad you are where you're happy. I'm glad you're enjoying life. Chip just had a birthday the other day, by the way, folks. He's now
Yep.
45 years old and he's been in the business for 41 years. So he started when he was 4 and things were a little elementary to him back then, but he's progressed quite nicely and grown into a fine young man. Chipper,
Thank you. Yes.
now that I gave you all these accolades, tell the folks where your website is, how you've been doing lately. And I know it was a little bit of a rough night last night, but overall, you're doing pretty darn good, my friend.
Yeah, it's I'm settled in here now. We're at chipwins.com. And every day I post 1 to 3 best bets. I usually have a megabuck or a play winner out there. You can get that individually or you can buy the entire package. And of course, there's weekly and monthly offers there as well. And it's really progressing quite nicely. The season's moving on. And we had a little bit of a lull in early February. But I'll tell you, we're back gangbusters again. And so looking forward to the weekend.
Yep, I'm coming off a 4-2 day yesterday in basketball after a horrific Tuesday. Took Wednesday off and bounced back nicely, as I told you I would do. 2
Yes,
and
you
1 in
did.
college basketball, 2 and 1 in the NBA. And my NBA right now, 18 and 11, the last 29 for 62%. If you view this quick enough, or I shouldn't say quick enough, if you view this before 8 p.m. Eastern on Friday, which we are recording right now on Friday the 26th for the college basketball games on the 27th. If you do view this before 8 p.m., my point is I have a 10-star top play up there in the NBA tonight, Chipper. It's my only
Hey,
play. So sorry to take a lot of time getting that point across, but need to know, need people to know. And I will have a
hey,
10-star college basketball tomorrow on Saturday, and I am 66 and 42 with my last 108 college basketball 10-star top plays. Good for 61%. Not bad. Anyway, let's get right
not
to the
bad at all.
games. Oklahoma at Oklahoma State, Chipper. Um, Scheduled start time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. Oklahoma's currently a 4.5 point home favorite in this contest, and the total is 139 and a half.
Well, Oklahoma State, I may be a bit underrated here. They do have a better record at 15 and 6. Oklahoma's 14 and 6. Now, that's negligible, I would say. Both teams coming off overtime games. Oklahoma losing to Kansas State. And meanwhile,
Go
Oklahoma
figure.
State beating Texas Tech. So, maybe Oklahoma was looking ahead to this one because it is a rivalry game. Um, it's the over for Oklahoma State is after a win is 19-6-2.
Wow.
And as underdogs, they're over 6-2 of the last 8. But they're going to play again on Monday, these two, because they had the game canceled earlier. I think it was January 16th and been pushed to this date. Oklahoma coming off that overtime loss to dreadful Kansas State. How do you lose to the Wildcats? But they're 6-1 after a loss, and the home team in this series is 6-1 in the last 7 games. Um, it's kind of tough to gauge after them coming off overtime games with one team winning and one team losing. Ross, the under for Oklahoma State is 9-4 in their last 13, and the under for Oklahoma at home in their last 26 games is 19-7. So I think this game may stay under the total. I won't have to worry about the points, and just hope everyone has a great plays great defense, that is, and keeps the game
And don't
under.
watch the game because watching when you need an under in college basketball or the NBA, it's the most excruciating experience you could ever go through. Anyway,
And you know what? It,
go ahead.
with both these teams going overtime, last time out, that's something where it's dreadful if you're looking to play the under because these games are normally high scoring enough, and now you don't need an extra 5 minutes.
No, it's never good when you have the under and it goes overtime.
No.
I just think it's a prime situation for the home favorite here. You got a home favorite coming off that uh, unexplicable upset loss to Kansas State, like you just alluded to, Chip. And then you
Yeah.
have on the other side of the coin, you got an Oklahoma State team coming off an overtime win as a 3.5 point home underdog against number 18 Texas Tech. Usually, in my experience, I like to flip them when they play each other
Right.
and they're coming off those types of situations. So my early lean right now would be on Oklahoma -4.5. That's the number 7 ranked team in the country, Oklahoma. How they lost to Kansas State. Just hard to imagine. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Really.
let's get to the next game. Number 11, Florida State at North Carolina. Chipper, 4 o'clock Eastern. Florida State a 2 point favorite. Over and under 151. North Carolina was unbeaten at home, and then they hosted unranked Marquette in their last game, and they get blown out at home. Go figure.
How about that?
They're still 6-0 in ACC conference play at home. What do you think on this one? To me, this line seems a little bit suspicious considering you have an unranked team against a number 11 team in the country, and the unranked team is just a 2 point dog.
Well, this Florida State team, believe it or not, people may not know that if they win, they will clinch the conference title for the second year in a row. And it's been a long time since that's happened.
Yeah.
Florida State has played really well. They beat this team at home earlier in the year, 82-75. But once again, this is an athletic team that likes to run the floor, and they've been a high-scoring team. They've gone over 22-8-2 in the last 31 games, and that's a pretty good size sample there. In the meantime, North Carolina, believe it or not, has gone over the last 6 home games.
Yes.
So rather than worry about, like what you said, with the ranked team and the favorite on the road and what we have here in North Carolina coming off that loss to Marquette, which is, kind of incomprehensible really at home.
Yeah.
They were 8-0 going into that game at home, but they're 6-0 to the over in the last 6 home games. I'm going to play this game over because of the trends.
Yeah, that would be over 151. And, you bring up some great points. And, Florida State's one of the few teams in the country that could really compete with North Carolina on the boards.
Yeah.
North Carolina is not a good shooting team, despite the fact of what Chip just said in terms of the over. A lot of their offense, they wear defenses down with their second and third chance opportunities. They're the best offensive rebounding team in the country. Now they're going to have their hands full against Florida State. No two ways about it. But again, Chipper, this looks like one of those situations where North Carolina was looking beyond a non-conference home game
Right.
against Marquette, a team that was sub 500. And they go, we got number 11 Florida State coming up on deck. That could be a real resume builder if we want to make the NCAA tournament. They got caught looking ahead and they paid for it. And Florida State, what can you say about the Seminoles? They've just been absolutely fantastic of late, especially, and they seem to get better as the year progresses. The next one, Chipper, Louisville and Duke, 2 unranked teams, but 2 teams with a lot to play for in terms of NCAA tournament hopes. And Duke comes in red hot, Chipper, 4-0 straight up in ATS in their last 4, while Louisville's coming off a 69-57 home win over Notre Dame after getting embarrassed at North Carolina in their previous game and losing by better than 40. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, well, I was going to mention that Louisville has alternated wins and losses the last 5 games. Win, lose, and they did bounce back. They were down 50 points to North Carolina in that game. They closed the gap to like 44-45 at the end with a great run. But but they're 4-1 today. They're 0-5 as dogs their last 5 times out. And here we have Duke 4-0 the last 4 games. Seem to catch a little momentum. They're 11-8 on the season. Can you imagine that? I mean, they were a 7-8 at one time.
Yeah.
8-4 at home, but only 4-8 against the number, Ross. But you know what? Duke seems to know how to play on Saturdays. The last two seasons, 14-4 against the number when they're
Wow.
playing on Saturdays. And, they're 18-2 straight up on Saturdays at home. Now, we know they're laying points here. It's 5. And I'm just wondering if Louisville has enough to keep this one close. But I'm expecting a lot of the public money to be on Duke here because of their
Yeah,
record
their
and because
recent hot streak. Yeah.
right. Now Louisville did beat Notre Dame last time out, but I think that there's an impact of the impression of the game they had against North Carolina,
Yeah.
and most of the public and most people would probably equate North Carolina and Duke as being pretty much, the same ACC power. So I'm afraid to take Duke here because there's going to be so much public money on them, and yet I have fear about Louisville because of their alternating wins and losses as they've been playing. The last 9 home games for Duke has gone over the total, and 4 of the last 5 games for Louisville have gone under the total. I'm in a quandary here about this one. It's really tough for me to make a call. And when I'm in doubt, Ross, for the most part, I like to take the points, and I like to fade the team that's getting most of the public action, and I expect the Blue Devils to get it.
Yeah, when I'm confused, I usually pass. It's the easiest thing for me to do. I don't have the
Well, you're
bravery in the
forcing me
world.
to make a
I
play
don't.
here.
I'm not as brave as you are. You know what I mean? You don't like a game, you still make a pick, and you win 90% of the time. For crying out loud, who am I to make a
Well,
pick
that
on the cuff? Anyway,
thanks
yeah,
for the inflated number anyway.
you made a good point about Duke and 6 straight overs for Duke when the total's been 149.5 or less.
Okay.
And currently that total is 141.5. Um, again, people forget going back, not making an excuse for Louisville when they lost to North Carolina big, but they were coming off a 19-day layoff because of
Yeah.
COVID-19, where they hardly practiced. And when they were able to practice, they hardly were able to scrape together 10 guys to go 5-on-5. So you can give them a little bit of an excuse there. And they bounced back nicely against Notre Dame, who's middle of the road as far as the ACC goes in a down year. So, yeah, I am. To me, this looks too easy. It looks like Duke is the play. When that usually happens, I have a contrarian thought
Right.
process, or like you like to say, the antichrist theory, and
Yeah.
we go the other way. So next game, number 6, Alabama at Mississippi State, and boy, oh boy, Chipper, Alabama looked lights out for most of the year, and the last 2 they've been sort of unimpressive, or very unimpressive, as a matter
Right.
of fact. They lost 81-66 at Arkansas in their last game. The game before that, they struggled to get by at home against Vanderbilt, the game they trailed for the better part of it. They only won that game 82-78 as a 14-point favorite. And lo and behold, Mississippi State has awoken, and they've won their last 2 by 21 against South Carolina. And then they upset Ole Miss, who was a red hot team at the
Right.
time, 2 games ago, 66-56. Your take, my man.
Well, I mean, Alabama has sort of come back to the pack. I mean, they had that run where they were just playing and hitting everything. Now, we had Arkansas as a top play against them. Arkansas wins the game 81-66. They ran away in the second half. But Alabama's big problem there was defense, Ross. They allowed 43 free throws. They gave up 43 free
Wow.
throws to Arkansas in that game.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of fouling. And they're 13-2. This is their second chance to clinch the SEC, and they haven't done that in basketball in eons. We know they do it almost every single year in football, but in basketball, they just haven't been there. Mississippi State, 13-11, has some athleticism, but having won 2 in a row, and they do it through defense.
Yes.
Because they don't shoot very well. This team is almost last in the nation. Listen to this, Ross, 316th in free throw shooting, 65.4%. And you know what? My father used to say the free throw is the easiest shot in basketball because there's nobody guarding you. And they're shooting 65% from the line on the year. And they came off a win against South Carolina, and they held South Carolina 18 field goals on 62 attempts. That's playing defense. That's playing tough defense. And with this line at 5, I think it's kind of shallow. I think maybe the Crimson Tide are coming back to the pack a little bit, though they're coming off that loss to Arkansas, and they should have plenty of incentive, Ross, because they can clinch the SEC. And, I just, it's tough for me to take because Well, here's Mississippi State. They're 5-1 against the number as home dogs, and I don't want to take them. I don't want to take them when I look at the free throws, but when I look at this number, it tells me to fade Alabama.
Yeah, I agree. I do. I think, Mississippi State's a team that's, they got a little bit of momentum. Momentum will go a
Right.
long way when you take a home underdog. So, yeah, it's, I see what you're saying, and I agree wholeheartedly. And you mentioned Mississippi State defensively. They're holding teams to 40.5% shooting on
Yep.
the year. They're 13-11. Remember last week I said I look for Saturday college basketball home underdogs that have a strong home court and hold teams below 40%. Well, I don't know if Mississippi State's got a strong home court, but they are hovering right around 40%, and they're 13-11 at home. So I'm going to take a real hard look at that game. If I use a side, it's certainly not going to be the road favorite in this situation, especially off their last two performances. All right, let's get to our final game we're going to discuss, and then we're going to give you guys a free pick in college basketball for Saturday. Chipper, number 2 Baylor at number 17 Kansas, and I don't want to bring up a bad memory. First of all, the line is Baylor minus 4.5 on the road with a total of
Right.
143.5. But the first time these teams met, we both had Baylor, and they were minus 8.5, and they led by 13 at the half. And then in the waning seconds, the kid from North Carolina decides he's going to throw up a 35-footer at the buzzer in an 11-point game after Baylor ran out the shot clock. Most times than not, the other team will give you the courtesy and run it out as well, right? No, they didn't. The inbounder
Yeah.
with 3 seconds to go, and the kid banks one in from 35 feet. And not to cry about sour milk, but, we lost the game by half a
Yeah. Well,
point.
that was against Kansas. You had mentioned North Carolina, and that's a faux pas.
No, it's against Kansas. I'm sorry. My bad. That's why you're here.
But there's interesting numbers about this one. Do you know that Baylor has only won one time in the last 16 times that they've traveled to Kansas?
Wow.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they're 3-14 straight up against this team in the last 17. So Kansas may have a really big psychological advantage here. Now, the Jayhawks lost to Texas last time out, overtime, 75-72. And I don't watch too much of these games because I don't want to.
And I know and I also know you're full of baloney.
But I did watch this.
So go ahead. I
didn't
mean
this. Okay, that's quite all right. But they've gone under 12 out of 16 at Baylor. But Baylor is 5-0 to the over in their last 5. Kansas is 5-1 to the over in the last 6. So I'm going to have to throw away a total. I'm not even going to think about it, though I do think this is probably going to be a high-scoring game. And Kansas, I think after that tough loss, may be in a position here at home to come up big against the Baylor Bears. And I lean toward the Kansas Jayhawks right now.
Well, I talk about strong home courts, and Kansas has definitely had that over the last few decades. This year alone, they're 11-1 at home. Their only loss against nationally ranked Texas. Baylor's going to be a handful, no doubt about it. You're talking about one of the best offensive teams in the country, as Chip alluded to. I believe they're number 2 in scoring points per game.
Yes, they are.
They're also not only 18-0, they're 13-5 against the spread, but somehow one of those inexplicable situations that we described before, they didn't lose, but they went on the road against 2-16 Iowa State, who hasn't won a game in the Big 12. And no, at home, I'm sorry, at home against Iowa State in their last game, Chipper, and as about 24-point home favorite, they only won by 5. I think maybe they were looking ahead. What do you think? I mean,
I think that
you're a
may be
smart
true.
guy.
And like I said, I'm leaning toward them right here, right now. So
Yeah.
We'll know tomorrow. We'll know a little bit more as we get information tonight and tomorrow morning. But right now we're a day ahead of time, and we just have to do the best we can with the information we have.
Like I said, you're a smart guy, and then after that last segment there, you're even smarter. So having said that, we're going to get to our portion of the free pick from both of us. Chipper, you could find him at chipwins.com. That's Chip Chirimbus, been around for close to 40 years, folks. And I'm not saying that to embarrass the gentleman. I'm saying it because longevity. And look at the way he looks. He's a handsome young man still at better than 70 years old, believe it or not. So still
Ah,
sharper in attack and astute as they come. Chip Chirimbus, you can find him at chipwins.com. You can find me at rbwins.com. I only been around for 20 years. I'm just a youngster. So in any event, let's get to our free pick, Chip. Let's start with you.
all right, I'm going to go back to the SEC, where you have a team that has a chance to clinch the conference title, first time for them. And maybe psychologically, Alabama isn't quite prepared to win the
Yeah.
SEC. I mean, they haven't been here before, and you're like, we've said that before. You don't know what to expect when someone hasn't been there. They had an opportunity last time out and got schmaltzed by Arkansas. They may win the game, but I think Mississippi State is going to give them a good battle. They've won their last two. I'm afraid about this Mississippi State. I mentioned to you about their free throw shooting, and if it comes down at the end, they may be under a lot of pressure and can't get it done. But my instinct tells me this number is shy and shallow, and I think that the Bulldogs, Mississippi State, has a chance to at least get in under the number.
Okay, so that's Mississippi State
Yes.
plus the 5 at home against Alabama on Saturday, February 27th from Chip Chirimbus. I'm going to go back to the Oklahoma State and Oklahoma game, Chip, and my
Yep.
free pick is going to be on the Oklahoma Sooners. I think I segued into that without getting into a free pick when we discussed the game. And I'm going to lay the 4.5 points here. I just think it's a prime betting situation where you have a ranked team coming off a upset loss, a bad upset loss, and they're playing a team coming off an upset win at home against a nationally ranked
Right.
opponent. I just think the emotions flip. It's a rivalry game, and I think the number 7 Sooners prevail in this one, and they win it on the defensive end. And I'm going to take Oklahoma here minus 4.5 over Oklahoma State on Saturday, February 27th as my free pick. And reminding you again, Chip Chirimbus gave you Mississippi State plus the 5 at home against Alabama. There you have it, folks. Remember to visit our websites, rbwins.com, chipwins.com. There you'll find our best plays of the day and a lot of subscription plans that are affordable. And spend some money, invest some money. We'll make some money for you. Until the next time, for Chip Chirimbus, I'm Ross Benjamin. Take care, good luck, and God bless this weekend.